Alright, let's dive into something that's been buzzing in the football world recently, a pre-season friendly that turned anything but friendly. Bournemouth's Alex Scott and Real Betis Antony got sent off in a match that ended 2-2, and honestly, it's got me thinking about the bigger picture here. But let's start with the hook. Why does a pre-season friendly, of all things, end up making headlines for all the wrong reasons? First off, pre-season friendlies are supposed to be about fine-tuning tactics, building chemistry, and maybe even experimenting with new players. They're not exactly the stage for red cards and brawls. But here we are. The flashpoint? It started with Betis' Nelson Diasa kicking the ball at Bournemouth's Bafo Diakite after a foul. Personally, I think this is where things get interesting. It's not just about the foul itself, it's about the reaction. What makes this really stand out is how quickly it escalated. One moment it's a routine foul, the next it's a full-blown confrontation with Antony and Scott pushing each other and both getting sent off. From my perspective, this raises a deeper question: why do players let emotions boil over in a game that, technically, doesn't even count? I mean, it's pre-season. The stakes are low, right? But here's the thing, players are human. They're competitive by nature, and sometimes that competitiveness spills over, even in friendlies. What many people don't realize is that these matches are still a chance to prove yourself, especially for younger players or those fighting for a spot in the starting lineup. So, while it's not a Premier League clash, the intensity can still be sky high. Now, let's talk about the players involved. Antony, formerly of Manchester United, is no stranger to the spotlight, but this kind of incident isn't exactly the kind of attention he'd want. On the flip side, Alex Scott is still making his mark at Bournemouth, and this probably isn't the way he wanted to grab headlines. In my opinion, this incident could have implications for both of them moving forward. Will it affect their standing with their clubs? Will it impact their mindset going into the season? These are questions worth asking. What's also fascinating is how the match itself unfolded. Bournemouth took the lead twice, with goals from Marcus Tavernier and Evanilson, only for Betis to equalize both times through Cucho Hernandez and Pablo Fornals. If you take a step back and think about it, this match had all the drama of a high-stakes league game: red cards, comebacks, and a 2-2 draw. But what this really suggests is that, despite the preseason label, these teams were playing with a level of intensity that's hard to ignore. One thing that immediately stands out to me is how this incident could affect Bournemouth's preparation for the Premier League season. Their final preseason friendly is against Mainz, and then they're straight into a match against Manchester City. That's a tough opener, and the last thing they'd want is for this red card drama to linger in the squad's mindset. From my perspective, how they bounce back from this will be a real test of their mental resilience. Lastly, let's zoom out for a second. Preseason friendlies are often overlooked, but incidents like this remind us that they're not just meaningless kickabouts. They're a microcosm of the sport, the passion, the tension, the unpredictability. What makes this really interesting is how it highlights the fine line between competitiveness and discipline. Every player walks that line, and sometimes, like in this case, it gets crossed. So, here's my closing thought. While this incident might seem like just another football drama, it's a reminder of the human element in the sport. Players aren't robots, they're driven by emotion, pride, and the desire to win. And sometimes, even in a friendly, that can lead to moments like this. The question is, how will both teams, and the players involved, move forward? That's something I'll definitely be keeping an eye on. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.